Hello, I'm Victoria Hearn, and I want to tell you a story. I have a friend who's a very prayerful woman, and she says that when she stops praying, coincidences stop happening. I want to tell a story about some coincidences and indeed what I thought was a miracle at the time. It's the story of how Santa Maria happened in Falls Church and where St. Mary's came into that story. This Sunday we will celebrate at 5 o'clock a joint service with Santa Maria as we celebrate other services with them throughout the year. And the reason for the bond between the two parishes comes from those coincidences and that miracle. I'm going to start with the story with some aging Baptists who were faithful and believed in the resurrection, but watched their church in Falls Church slowly diminish and die as the demographics around them changed. But they trusted that God had a plan for their building. They didn't know what it was. And they approached, here's the first coincidence, an Episcopalian who was a realtor. And she and I had chatted vaguely about the possibility of a church in Falls Church after I had started to work for the Diocese of Virginia and starting new churches. In Arlington, when I was at St. George's Arlington as interim rector, I watched the parish of San Jose, it was a mission of the diocese, which grew and grew in the small chapel of St. George's in the afternoons until literally one summer I remember watching people Sunday after Sunday looking in the windows of the chapel because there was no room for them. So when I went on to work for the diocese, Father Morales kept saying, what about, could we, and they had a dream for expanding their ministries, expanding their community, and not driving into Arlington from where they lived, but they lived mostly in Falls Church. Now back to those Baptists who believed in the risen Christ and the divine plan. They did want to sell the place, and the coincidence was they never listed it. The realtor told me about it, I went and looked at it, and I got excited and told Bishop Jones. Now, the miracle's coming. Bishop Jones knew perfectly well the Diocese of Virginia didn't have quite the money to put down for the down payment, and the Baptists, not unreasonably, wanted a fair price. Bishop Jones called Father Merrill of St. Mary's. He said he was going to ask maybe for $100,000. He thought that was a huge stretch, and maybe could St. Mary's help. But he knew that Father Merrill and St. Mary's were very mission-minded, and therefore here came the miracle. St. Mary's offered $250,000 for the down payment, and it happened. I was at the first service. There were so many people expected. They didn't try to do it in the church. They built a platform on the side of the hill and put the two bishops and the altar up there. And hundreds of people were scattered all the way around the church and up and down the hill. So the traffic on Route 50 just stopped to look at this strange sight of two bishops and an altar and a huge crowd of people doing they knew not what. And from that day to this, everything has been a dream for Santa Maria's growing Hispanic community. ESL classes, men's groups, a Women's of Vision group. Isn't that a wonderful name for a women's group? Young people growing up with the Episcopal liturgy coming into their bones. A feeding ministry that feeds hundreds of people every other week, and in which we of St. Mary's contribute many members to assist it. And we have continued to have a bond of friendship, ministry, and table fellowship for more than 2 decades. So this Sunday, once again on the Feast of St. Mary, we will do as we do every year and celebrate Eucharist together and then have dinner together after the Eucharist. Praying for one another, praying to God in thanksgiving for all that has happened, all those coincidences and miracles, including many I know that I do not know of. I hope if you will, come. If you're an 8 o'clocker, come to 5 this time. If you're a 10 o'clocker, think of coming back to 5 and joining with Santa Maria for an absolutely brilliant musical, 2 languages, 2 musical traditions, but together in love of Christ. It's a real Pentecostal experience, and I hope you'll be there to experience it. Thank you.